If you were in
Huh.
London, could you read Big Ben and tell you
Yes,
what?
I can read Big Ben. Travaris, you know what? Let's get it. Like, you about to get on.
I just
For
want.
everyone here,
The people want to
for
know.
everyone here, no, because you not about to talk about my generation.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Care to Elaborate with Taylor and Travarus. Today, we're here to talk about analog versus digital. What I mean by that is some of us grew up in a world where we didn't have computers to rely on, so we were probably a bit more smarter and more savvy of how to navigate the world before some other folks were given privileges by using computers and probably calculators. And I'm not sure if y'all know how to do math for real or if you just used calculators from the rip. With that being said, I wanted to introduce my co-host, Taylor. How you doing?
Don't piss me off before the episode gets start. I was doing great until you came over here and tried to say I can't multiply.
Thinking
But
more
anyway,
add or subtract, but
that's Gen Alpha, not Gen Z.
and what
But
is
anyway,
that? Is that after
Gen
y'all?
Alpha is like 2012 and after, or like 2013 and after.
If you're a Gen Alpha, this podcast is not for you.
I don't even think Gen Alpha, what they're 10? They not listening
12.
to no podcast.
You never, man,
10,
look,
10, 11.
by the way that these kids are adapting to technology and how things are catching up, I don't know what they're into at 12.
Look, if you're 10 or 12 right now and you're listening to Care to Elaborate, thank you. Tell your little friends too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe y'all can learn something.
A little
like
something.
how to add.
Or write cursive, which I also am aware that Gen Z is not aware how to do.
That's
what else
literally
can Gen
not
Z
true.
not do?
Why do you that? I literally took we had to do cursive in 3rd grade.
Do you think that we actually tie our shoes the same way? Do you have a new creative way to do it?
What other way are people tying their shoes?
The bunny ears, like off rip, like.
I don't like the bunny ears.
So, but you are aware that they know how to. They do bunny ears, like they don't even do the cross first. They do bunny ears first.
People, now I did. Some people have always done that. I was also taught both ways, but the bunny ears, I can't do that one. That one's disgusting.
And they do math different. Like this is all jokes aside, but they're doing math different. Yeah.
Now I will say this: I am a tutor. So again, if your kids need a tutor, come. And yes, they do math differently, which is concerning. However, my students learn how to do math the regular way, not that 12 different step to get one answer that should only take you 5 seconds. Why are we doing multiplication in boxes when you should already know what's 7 times 9?
Are they still carrying the 1?
Yeah, I teach them how to carry the 1. In school, it's like, okay, so briefly, y'all. In school, if it's like 7 times 9, it's like they split the 7 into like 4 and 3, and they split the 9 into like 6 and 3 in these boxes. Then they have to multiply in the box. It's not efficient.
It's not even, and we've covered the fact that we think that Gen Z is very efficient. But you know what's not efficient about them is they can't tell time on a clock that's not digital.
Bruh, I don't know who keeps telling you this. That is untrue.
If you were in London, could you read Big Ben and tell you?
Yes, I can read Big Ben. Travaris, you know what? Let's get it. Like, you about to get on. Everyone here.
The people want to know.
For everyone here, no, because you not about to talk about my generation. Gen Z knows how to do the basic things that you should know how to do as a human being, like read a clock and write cursive and do all the things. But we also have advanced skills for technology. We're multifaceted.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you are aware that people they stopped teaching cursive in schools.
No, they haven't.
They have.
Well, the students I teach know how to write cursive. Okay. I don't know who you know.
No, but like legitimately, cursive is being phased out. Now, we're being honest. Why do we need cursive?
Yeah, because you can just send something, through the thing and
you can just do an e-signature, but and also kids aren't asking professional athletes or celebrities for autographs anymore. They're asking for selfies.
Okay, this is now, I feel like it's still both. I've seen some kids, want their ball signed or want their t-shirt signed.
Okay.
I think we're still doing both, but I do see what you're saying.
I think selfies have overtaken the autograph.
Maybe slightly, on the slightest bit.
Okay, all right, okay. We can say that, but I wanted to give you
like people want both.
People, because they're greedy. If you had to choose one, If you had to choose one, what would you want? A selfie or an autograph?
I'm not answering that question.
Why? Because you would want a selfie, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because that can live on. I feel like I can lose an autograph. Well, honestly though, when you think about it, it depends on what it is. Because if it's like Beyonce's autograph, give me that because I may be able to sell it.
Right.
But
You
like
can't sell your
you
selfie.
actually, you're right. I would actually want both.
We got to a deep dive. Like you can't sell your selfie, but you could sell your autograph. But
The
the
autograph,
autograph doesn't give you as much clout as a selfie would. You can't share the
right?
autograph on Instagram and people be like, like,
That's why I want both. You're right. So you know what? I'll agree with you. People are greedy. I'm one of them.
all right.
Give me both.
So we've acknowledged that Gen Z is both greedy, can't write in cursive, and cannot read Big Ben.
Who said that they okay. Next, let's move along.
This conversation was emerged because we were chatting legitimately, not trolling, about the differences between growing up for me as a millennial and the things that we had to experience and when computers were introduced and how that influences your ability to do work at a high level. But also for Taylor's generation, I imagine, this is me assuming before I talked to her, that they've had computers from the beginning and they didn't really experience an analog world. Analog world being before internet. I would say I lived in an analog world where we played outside and on the Saturdays, and we really didn't go in the house to play video games as much. And the video games for sure wasn't connected to the internet. So the only way you would be able to play with your friend is if your friend was in the room, right? But I was wrong. Taylor, can you share some of the aspects of your analog experience when you?
Yes. So, the iPod didn't come out until, I don't know, a while. I think I was 7, 6. Now, there were like the little MP3 players and stuff, but even still, even then, like when I was growing up, we still had VCRs and CDs. Actually,
What? You didn't have a
yes,
VCR? Come on.
I literally used to watch Dora on tape. So serious. I used to watch Dora on tape. I think until we moved out of my first house, until like
Baby.
2008. I'm
You was
still
not using tapes in '08.
okay, maybe until 2006. But we did use VCR tapes. And then what else did I have? Is it VCR or VH? Wait, V what?
VCR is what
Whatever.
you played it on, but the VHS went inside the VCR.
VHS. There it is. I'm
Yeah.
like V something. See, now you can tell I'm Gen Z. But anyway, we had that. I still have CDs. I was buying Beyonce CDs up until what? Now definitely that was like '08, when she came out with Single Ladies. I still got the CD in my car. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't all so we were in a time where technology was evolving, but not everything was so automated or, like downloadable yet. That was what was emerging at the time.
But technology's evolved so quickly, especially for the both of us and our generations, where we've seen life before computers dominated everything. But I would say in your formative years, though, computers were a part of it all. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, up until like, first maybe starting in second-ish grade, yes, because we used to go to the computer lab
Mm-hmm.
and do all that stuff. But I grew up with those big old computers or like the ones that had the little bit of the chunky back, just a little
Mm,
bit of the chunky back, not a super big chunky back, but just a little bit. And your computer still had the what is that thing called?
the actual computer, like the bottom,
The
the
yeah,
tower,
the bot and the yeah, what is the big thing?
the tower.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, but that's actually the computer. Everything else is the monitor.
Okay, well then yes,
Yeah,
that. It had see, I don't even know what these things are called. But
but
yes,
here's a question: Did you have the America Online CDs?
the who?
All right, bet. So this is a clear distinction of where we differ.
America.
America Online, AOL, is what they commonly refer to it
Oh,
as.
AO. Oh, okay, yeah. What
But
don't nobody but what?
but this is the
Nobody knows
beginning.
the
They
full
sent
name.
look when I was in high school, we had a computer, but in order for you to get on the internet, you had your phone line wouldn't work.
This sounds let me
I'm
never mind.
telling you, but this is the difference, right? So in order to get online, American Online would sell like 50 hours of internet. So they would just send you like these CDs and you can put it in and then you will be able to get online through these AOL CDs. Anyway, when you got online, your phone wouldn't work. When you open the phone, it's this
The
weird,
the little
yeah,
the
all that,
Yeah.
right? Wi-Fi wasn't a thing in high school for me. Wi-Fi,
What didn't people have like Ethernet?
through your Ethernet, you couldn't use your actual house phone.
Well, then did I have that too? Because we had Ethernet at a
Yeah, all right, cool. But there was a time where you didn't have an internet service. You didn't have Comcast or Xfinity. You had these CDs that would give you internet anyway. So how do you think that your exposure to technology so early prepared you for technology within the workplace? Did you also have it in the household? Did you use computers at home and everything?
Yes. So my family owns a business, so I've always seen computers. I mean, I think some of my first ish memories with computers are like going on, and I remember vividly seeing Beyonce's music video through
Mm,
like YouTube. So it's like somewhere around, again, this is like 2006, 2008, like
okay.
somewhere in there. I'm speaking from this time period in my life. But to answer your question, yes, I do think having exposure to technology early helped me, especially now when we think about how technology is moving just extremely fast with the emergence of AI and
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. For people who had to catch up and learn basic computer skills, like people again who maybe are not maybe like the older millennials or like Gen X, I
Mm-hmm.
think the shifts for them has been more difficult when it comes to AI and all of these new emerging technologies. I had to teach my dad how to use Chat GPT. It wasn't painful, but it
It's a
mm,
different concept to understand because it's like Google on steroids. Like, but let's bring it more simpler, right? Let's talk about social media. And social media became prevalent for me my freshman year in college.
MySpace.
I didn't know I skipped MySpace. I went right to Facebook. So Facebook was a bit of a
Mm.
hierarchical vibe because you had to be in college. You had to have an EDU in order to get on Facebook.
Oh, I didn't know
You
that.
didn't know that? So I joined Facebook January of '05. It wasn't really
I know you
big.
thought you were lit.
No, I didn't. Because so
Okay.
also I think about me that Taylor knows. I go the opposite way that everybody else goes. Everybody was on MySpace, so I just was like, I'm cool. I don't really want to be on MySpace. Facebook came out. I was like, oh, this is fire because it could set a little bit of exclusivity because you have to be in college in order to use it. They didn't expand it to high schools. We're probably to like 2 or 3 years in, maybe 3 or 4 years in. Then high schools will
Mm.
be able to get on. But at that point, you still had to have an email connected to your school. Um,
Interesting.
but in '05, joined Facebook, and then you began to see like the popularity that you exhibit explode. Like for me being a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, I'm not just limited to my college anymore. The whole state of New Jersey knew who we were based on people will post Greek events on Facebook. Oh no, we're pulling up, right? Whereas you wouldn't have known about that before.
Mm.
And I use social media as an example to ask this question for your parents. Have you seen even a difficulty for them to grasp the fact that social media is this world online and how that world online affects so much of the real world? And have you seen that your parents or people of your parents' age grasp those concepts?
I think they have. I
Okay.
will be honest. I taught my grandma how to use Facebook and Instagram. So
That's fire.
she is very much so aware of how it works. Matter of fact, she be commenting on people's stuff. On I be getting the notifications on Facebook. I'm like, Grandma, why are you, baby? This post was 5 days ago. Why are you? But she be commenting on it. And same thing with my parents. Unfortunately, I should not have done this, but I introduced my dad to TikTok. That
Mm,
man be on TikTok more than me.
word.
When I go home, he be scrolling. And I'm not talking about regular scrolling. He be doom scrolling. I'm like, bro, let's get off of TikTok and Instagram reels. He be sending, I taught him how to send me
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. It's crazy, bro. Like
Yeah,
when you when people learn how to use stuff and they've never experienced it before, it's so crazy
it
how they
is.
are just like attached to it. Whereas, I mean, I think we all have a little bit of issues with social media attachment,
Mm-hmm.
but for these Gen Xers and baby boomers who really never had this type of technology, when they get their hands on it, they're like, wow. And then they just stuck.
But the other part of that is the believing of everything that exists online. Like aunts and uncles really believe every
Them deep
headline.
fakes.
It's
Them
like,
deep fakes be killing
no,
people.
no, no, no. That's not real. Or some people may see, our older family members may see some of the companies that we have work for now. Like, did you know that so and so is doing this? And it's just like, no, that's not happening. That's not real. It's not real. But I mentioned social media again because it defies that notion of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? Because
You definitely
you
can.
can. Now, bringing it specifically to the work context, we have to learn new tools often. And sometimes these new tools and platforms are tough even for us to upskill on. So when you have people who have been in a company for 20, 30 years, granted it's a tech company, it takes people a long time to, that learning curve is like not immediate. So how do you think that for us as younger professionals in the space, what is our advantage to future proofing our ability to kind of stay relevant?
That is a great question. I think that again, because we have just the knowledge base ingrained in who we are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, I talk about how I grew up with computers. So as I figure out new ways to upskill myself, most of the time they're going to be related to the computer or
Mm-hmm.
something that the computer can do. So since I already have the basic knowledge just naturally, adding on another extra step or extra thing there is not that difficult for me. Whereas somebody who had to learn the basics and is still getting used to the basics, once you're starting to add on thing after thing after thing, it becomes more difficult for them to just continue to not only grasp the concepts, but get that the basic concept and then add something to it. They might miss something there. So I think, just having the access early and having it be just a part of everyday life from the get-go, it propels us a little bit farther and faster than someone else who maybe did not have that access.
I 1000% agree. And I add another layer that is a feather in the cap of folks who are a bit older than us. We rely heavily on tools that are not face to face. Like their advantage or superpower is human connection. So
Mhm.
whereas they may tell us like, "Hey, I want to meet new people," and the simple explanation or advice may be, "Okay, cool. Well, like I can put you in contact with so and so." But some of us have social anxiety. Some of us are not the same online as we are in person. Some people don't know how to chat with people in real life, right? So there's a give and take. So I'm going to ask you, were you able to learn these in real life skills? When were you able to learn these in real life skills? And was it difficult for you to upskill on that? Like it might be difficult for them to upskill in digital stuff.
This is you coming with all the good questions today, Travarus dog. I because I've had what I think is both the analog and the digital experience, while I may have had more of a digital experience than analog, I must admit,
Mm-hmm.
because I had both, I think that I built those conversational or those, real world skills early just because I did play outside, on the weekend, or me and my cousins did actually play tag and play all the games and do all the stuff, or play board games before the video games became something that was so consistent in our
Mm-hmm.
lives, I would say. So I do think that because again, when I was coming up, this technology was coming out, but it was not adopted by everyone
It
yet.
was very niche
So
still, right?
right, it was still niche, and it did spread quickly. Like, I'm telling you, by '09, it was very much so digital. But before then, I did have experiences with both sides. So therefore, I was able to build and have those skill sets early, and I was able to grow them, as I grew myself basically.
Yeah.
Now, can I for the early now I will say I'm speaking from Gen Z being 23. Now, Gen Z who was born in 2012 probably doesn't have that
It's gonna
same
be tough
experience.
and rough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if I'm born in 2001, what I experienced is completely different from somebody who was born in 2010.
Mm-hmm. And something I
Yeah.
want to acknowledge, because we always want to make sure we provide the dependencies, right? There's a what's the word I'm looking for? There's a money gap. There's a financial contribution required for you to have been an early adopter in a digital space.
For sure.
Everybody wasn't able to have a computer early. And for me, if you are a millennial, you're going to be very familiar with this word. We had a gateway computer. Gateway isn't even around anymore, but like gateway, I feel like was a very entry level, you get the computer in your house vibe, where I don't know how much it was, but it wasn't cheap, but it really wasn't, it wasn't expensive like a Mac. But when you get a computer, okay, cool. Now you have the machine. The machine doesn't work without these things. So you need more and more and more. So there's a financial contribution that you have to have. And even for an iPod, like my first iPod was the first iPhone that I got. Right. So I didn't buy iPhone 1, but I was given iPhone 1 when like the iPhone 2 came out. But I've had every iPhone since iPhone 3. I didn't have 2. I had 1 and I had 3 and on.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you've been talking about, your experience with Gateway and iPhone 1 and all of these archaic things. But sorry, okay, I had to throw that in there.
Okay.
So tell us about how your experience with technology, how you have been at the forefront of that, even though it was so new. So, like, for example, I'm thinking, when did Google come out? Like, were you
Yeah, I was
there for that?
young. I think Google came out in 04, but it wasn't prevalent. Like,
So how did you
mhm.
how did you learn to adopt these things if you weren't already introduced to them, if they were new to you, even though you were a bit older?
I've always been a early adopter technology wise. Like I don't even know the origin of said thing, but I know that like from the beginning, I've always learned the new thing, right? I was the person before, so I remember when we got internet browsers on our phones, right? So before this, Blackberries were big, but
Well, I love a
right
BlackBerry.
before Blackberries, we just had regular phones, and like a regular Verizon phone. And they began to introduce internet browsers, and I would be able to pull up real websites on the internet browser. Here's another tidbit: I used to record my own ringtones. Now, this is,
Of course.
but
Of
this is
course.
stuff that like
Oh my God.
so I had a phone that gave you the ability to record ringtones. So I found out the right cadence and all the right things, and I'll be able to record my own ringtones. That was my freshman year in college.
This is so Travarus coded.
It really is. But these things haven't changed. And even now, with the adaptability to AI, like my peers are a bit hesitant to do so, right? And people who are like my age feels like old heads. So I've always gotten an iPhone. I've been at the cusp of that. I've always been able to adapt to the newest technology that's happening. When iPads came out, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I've had a million iPads since then. But like, I love technology. So it hasn't, maybe it's beyond me. I mean, I drive an electric car. Now, that's another example of it's not widely adapted by everybody yet. The thing with the drawbacks, I've done my research and I've decided that like, nah, I'm going to get an electric car. And the advantages that it has, it'll take most people a while to figure out, we should have been on this. I'll probably be on my third one by the time everybody else is, oh, this is cool, or it's not rocket science. So I've always been pretty inept on the newest technology things.
And what part of your upbringing, or like what part of your personality, do you think contributes to that? Because most people cannot say that.
I remember I had this VTech. It wasn't a real computer, but it was like it was like a little laptop vibe, right? And I used to like typing on it, but it was nothing. It was just a little game. But I don't know at what point did I just connect to technology. I think I like efficiency, right? So the best technology makes our lives easier. And for instance, an iPhone allows you to have these apps that allow you to connect directly to the thing instead of having before you have to go to your computer and do this. Like, the best technology makes our lives easier. So I think I just like efficiency, right? I don't want to carry around a laptop, so I bought an iPad. I love. So another example, I was on Beats early, right? People love Beats. I skipped the wired Beats because I wanted the wireless Beats. So the wireless Beats probably came out like 3 years after. But I was like, I don't want to have to connect it to my phone. So I wanted the wireless Beats. Oh man, I gotta go to that's another story. Before there was an Apple Watch. There was a iPod Nano. It was
Oh my God, now I can't lie. I had one
the
of
little
those.
square joints.
I think I still have it somewhere.
Yeah,
The
all
little
right.
square joint with no screen.
Yes. No. Mine
Yeah.
had a screen. So
Oh, you
like the
bougie.
first
See, mine
version,
didn't have it.
it might have been iPod Nano or iPod Mini, whatever. But it
No,
had
I had
this
the iPod Shuffle. That's what I
shuffle.
had. That's
Okay,
what I'm thinking
I
about.
think the
Okay.
iPad Mini is. So anyway, it had a clip similar to how the
Yeah.
lavalier mics are now, where you have a little clip. But it was a square and it had a clip. Some company made a watch band, right? So you put the clip on the watch band.
I know what you're talking about. See,
So
we're aligned, Travarus.
yeah.
We're not that
So
far apart.
before there was an Apple Watch, I had my joint being able to listen to it. So I also was able to listen to. I had my wireless headphones, and I would be able to do Bluetooth. So I was walking around like in the future. So I've always loved technology for real.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this because I feel like it's split and I think that's for a lot of generations because the generational period is what, like 12 years or 15 years or something like
Yeah,
that. So I feel like, depending on what time you were born within a generation, you may have a different experience than someone else. Well, you will have a different experience.
absolutely. But even with that, like we always say, I was able to adapt quickly, similar to what the generation after me, but also you have awareness of things similar to the generation before you. So although you can't write in cursive, I do respect your ability to understand what millennials have gone through.
Did you just say I can't write in cursive? Y'all, I'm about to leave this episode early since Travaris want to keep joking on me.
I just
I
I
can very much so write in cursive. Now, is it the prettiest? No, but can I still write it? Yes.
so yeah, we were yeah. So I really think that this gets to the crux of, I think, your ability to survive in corporate environments by how quickly you're able to adapt. Everyone here has seen the job descriptions where it says fast-paced environment, right? This is a matrix organization, and you are required to have the ability to just process very quickly. The advantage to being a Gen Z and a millennial who is more inept to technology is that you can really process information very quickly, right?
This is true.
But unlike our forefathers and mothers,
Others. Poor
they
people.
they have the ability to quote unquote show their work, right? And what I mean by that is both of us are the computer generation. I mean, the calculator generation, right? We probably had to start on paper, but eventually we get the calculator. And then when you get old enough to recognize, I don't need to know this off rip. Their generation had to know how to get every step, right? They had to
I think of Hidden Figures, where that lady had to do that whole problem on the
just like,
because
what?
maybe the rocket would have been tore up with me. Never would have landed. Could never, probably wouldn't have taken off, actually.
What she would have told her was like, I wanted to carry the one, but they had this little box thing that I just couldn't understand how to do.
Okay, like I would have messed up somewhere in between.
But the generation before, well, two before you and one before me, when they were really good at something, they didn't need directions anymore. Whereas we need directions. I need directions on how to get somewhere. I've been 3 or 4 times already in a car.
I was gonna ask you about that. Okay, thank you for saying that because
Yeah.
that was my question I had, but I lost. Did you have to drive without a GPS?
Oh my God. So I'm in the cusp. I grew up with my parents not having maps. They just knew how to get places. when I got,
But what if you're going somewhere you've never been?
they didn't go places they'd never been.
Oh.
And if you did, you had someone ask at the gas station, how do I get to so and so? You knew directions to a point. That's not my experience though. My experience was printing out MapQuest directions.
MapQuest. Okay,
Yep.
now see, I'm in that little cusp
Okay.
too, because for a little period, a very small
Mm-hmm.
period, my parents had to do that too. But then we got that Tommy
The
GPS.
TomTom?
There we go, Tom. Like
TomTom,
Tom something.
man.
Man,
So
that TomTom.
here's where, so TomTom used to power Google Maps. So TomTom was on top of
They
it all,
were.
right? But what I began to realize is that there were some free apps that give you turn by turn. But before that, we used to print out MapQuest directions. And then what I was speaking about technology, I would be able to realize I have a phone. I don't have to print them out. I can just use my phone and just have the browser, right? And just say the same thing that was going to be printed out is going to be on my phone. So we had to approximate what 0.3 miles was based on vibes. What 0.3 miles seems to be, and sometimes you didn't have the street didn't have the sign on it. Like,
I would never made it anywhere. Y'all talking about lost, especially up here in the DMV. Oh no,
oh
I would
yeah,
never have
yeah.
made it.
So
I
and
would
so,
never have made
U
it.
Street, Northeast, Southwest. It's like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah,
What are we
it's
doing?
about 314th Street. Which one? Look,
What
no,
what are we doing?
no,
Right?
no.
But the funny part, which is not work related, is that we were only GPS into a girl's house or where the kickback was. We were only trying to figure out where the vibe was. We weren't like GPS into like study hall. Like we just trying to figure out, all right, they said it's at this place, we just going to pop up.
Okay, wait, I have another
Go
question.
ahead.
This is so Gen Z of me. But let's say you're going on a trip.
Road trip.
How
Okay.
do you have internet? So can you book your flight through the internet?
Oh, this is a fantastic question. I don't think so. I think you had to
Oh,
call to book
you know what?
flights.
My dad did say this.
And I didn't
That's sad.
experience this when I first began to fly. Like Expedia and stuff existed,
Okay.
like those, but they were the OG Google Flights. You know, Google Flights conflates everything and tells you
I still use Expedia. Shoot.
but because they may pop up with a different price, then you got to investigate like how is it cheaper.
Right. And they be having all the little deals and stuff. I love an Expedia.
So
Y'all
now,
should look, you want to sponsor us, Expedia?
Expedia,
Sorry.
we're welcome for. We're more than open for a sponsorship. But like for hotels and stuff, yeah. But I never had to call an airline to book a flight.
So Travarus, I'm starting to get the inkling that you're kind of digital too. You keep on talking about you the analog generation. Da, da, da. It's giving you're pretty digital too.
I am.
Yeah, you are.
But I got grass stains on my pants from playing outside, whereas you
And
didn't.
so do I. That OxyClean commercial with that man, I saw it too.
The OxyClean man, he made some money, didn't he?
Yeah, R.I.P. him.
Oh, he
So
did?
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
That's
bro.
sad. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I think that a lot of this stuff that we've experienced at a younger age really relates to how you are in the workplace. But also, I also think it depends on your patience. Now, the quicker the technology, the shorter the patience. Right? Now, hear me out. If we're watching something on Netflix, it's buffering. I pay for this internet. What are we doing, right?
Man, I'm cutting it off. Reboot.
Instantly. And whereas I've experienced putting the VHS in the VCR and like it got the little wiggles and it's just like,
you know what, Travarus? This might be the best point of the episode because now that I think about it, when my browser does not load in 0.2 seconds, I'm getting upset.
Because it's supposed to work. And you have reliability on this thing working. But like I was mentioning, when you see the wiggles in your VHS tape, give it a second. It's gonna figure itself out.
When that CD scratching, let's take it all. Let's wipe it off with the alcohol.
When the CD scratches, you kindly stop it. You pop it out. You wipe it off. Or back in the day when you played, I didn't play Super Nintendo, but if you have Super Nintendo or you had the game cartridge, you blow it. You know what I mean? And you put that thing back in there.
Now that I
See,
had that experience, yeah.
I am very strong in saying the newer the technology, the shorter the patience.
That's a quote. Y'all quote that, because
Yeah,
that's a word right there.
because it's real, and even at work when you are working with somebody who you think should know the answer to the question, and they ask you silly questions that you think that is easy to Google or look inside the site or your intro website, and you just looking like what, like
Like, come on, bro.
yeah, like what are we doing? Like you couldn't pop, you didn't get this answer on your own. Like, why are you asking me the question that the answer is right here?
Right here.
So for even
Ask
for
Copilot.
even Copilot's fire. Copilot, if you want to sponsor us, also we are open to sponsorship.
Call us,
You
please.
know,
Thank you.
Microsoft Copilot. If you were wondering, just
Yeah,
let
for
us
the for y'all millennials that's a little older. Anyway,
look. If you
stop.
let me, I can cut an ad right now for Copilot. If you know,
Look, Microsoft hit our line. Thank you. If you're listening and you work at Microsoft, tell your marketing team, you know.
yeah, think of us. We would love to elaborate on how we can use Copilot in the workplace.
Because I got some.
Also communication styles and how this could be affected. I am one of the folks who I'm not a fan. I'm not a big fan of email, right?
Yeah, you hate an email.
Nobody want. I don't. Let me not say anybody. I don't want an email. Slack me, text me, right? Give me the short and quick communication, because that gets right. That's direct to me. Whereas sometimes for things that are not that serious, email seems very heavy when we don't necessarily have to do that. Now that might be a younger person thing, but if we go a bit broader to our counterparts, email is what they live on,
True.
right? And I don't like that. I don't
And
like that.
again, I think this just speaks to you being a millennial that is just immersed himself in tech,
Mm-hmm.
proactively.
Yeah, I mean, we've been said this from episode one that I'm definitely cool.
Sorry. I was like, what is he gonna say? I'm like, what adjective is about to come out of his mouth? You're
Nope,
definitely
just
Travarus be
cool.
tooting his own horn, y'all. A matter of fact, he be blowing that shit. He be
Look, if we want to talk about it,
laying on it.
you need to. You look. I have a short story, right? When you leave home, whether you go to college or you move areas, whatever, I'm a firm believer that the places that used to big you up, it's vacant. Like you don't have the people to accentuate, like you don't have the good jobs anymore. Like you don't have the pats on the back from your parents, your sisters, your brothers. So you have to find ways to supplement that positively. So what I began to do is to recognize when I actually did a good job, and I'm very hard on myself, but I began to really try to strive to make me proud. The more I made me proud, the more I feel like, oh, I got this thing. I'm good at this thing, where I wasn't good at everything. So I began to recognize ways to like affirm myself. And then when my mom passed away, my number one cheerleader was no longer here. So I really had to step it up by like not gassing myself, but really being good at something and honoring how good I am at that thing. It wasn't really work shit. It was more like personality traits. Like I feel like I'm a really good friend. I feel like I give really good gifts. I feel like I do this very well. So I can kind of pat myself on the back. But some of that has turned into me being very sure of myself. So sometimes I'm going to give myself a pat on the back live on air.
Okay, well,
And
everybody here right now, let's go ahead and give Travarus a round of applause.
no. See, now I'm thinking it's not genuine and I don't want it. Take it
No,
back.
I think it is genuine.
Take it back.
You said you look. You are obviously are confident in yourself, but it never hurts to have somebody just give you a little clap.
But I feel like because I told you that you can't write in cursive, this is somehow subverted into you not really giving me a
Okay, you know
compliment.
what,
I feel like you're doing
Travarus,
this. I,
you're about to look now. I know we're cool and I know we friends and all that, but if you know what, matter of fact, the next, you know what,
you setting
the
boundaries?
little the image for this episode, I'm finna write care to elaborate in cursive since you have so much to say. I'm putting it, and we gonna make that the image that goes on everything.
Man, but yeah. So in terms of me blowing toot my own horn, I felt like I did it out of necessity because I had to ensure that I had somebody had my back, so I had to make sure I had my own. But let's talk about the flip side of that, right? The flip side to that is some people don't feel like you need affirmations because you got it yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, talk about it from a dating perspective. Like for you, Taylor, you dating a guy, and you feel like he fine, right? Do you want to add more adjectives?
No, no.
Right,
And that's
right.
why I stopped dating men that know they fine, because anyway, we'll get into that on another episode. I had
But
to let that go
same thing
because
exists for somebody that they know they're intelligent, or like whatever those things are. You won't get compliments in that direction because people think, oh, like you're fine, you're good, like you don't you don't need anything
yeah, like
else.
you don't need that.
Right. It's just not true because I need all of it, but it happens on
Well,
the
that's
other
why I
side.
gave you
I
your
don't think it's genuine.
Travarus. Okay, let's continue on with our analog digital conversation, because I know that the people need to hear some what I think is concise advice.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Okay. So, we've been talking about technology, we've been talking about tools, we've been talking about adapting all of these things. And we also have been talking about how, cross generational differences. What we have experienced is the same a little bit, but it's different in some ways. But, people also have to consider that there are older generations that are still in the workforce that, again, may have difficulty adapting to some of these new changes. So, one of our viewers has asked, how are you able to elevate a new tool or idea when some of your team members are resistant?
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like I found myself in this position a couple times. The first thing that I would say to do is to be organized. And what I mean by that is you have to understand that bringing a brand new idea to a team that may or may not have introduced new ideas in the last few months or years, it's going to fall on deaf ears if you haven't thought about the uh, the criticism they may provide, or the counters they may provide. So if you want to bring a new platform and you feel like, you know what, Teams hasn't been working as well as I think it should for our large scale virtual events, I want to bring this platform. The question is going to be, well, what's wrong with Teams? You have to anticipate what they're going to say before they even mention it. So I would say, get organized. In that organization, you may do something like a proposal, right? Talk about the drawbacks of the current way that things are, and that those drawbacks should be able to be answered by the new thing. So you have to really just take a bird's eye view and say, why don't I like this way that is currently being used, and this new way that I want to introduce it, how will that be better? That's the first thing. The second thing is make it personal. So some people use like demos. Some people make you can do like a skit with someone and just like try to make it creative and make it personal, where somebody can see themselves using your new idea outside of just using the way that things have been. The final thing is use data. Sometimes there may be an opportunity to measure how effective something is, and if you could subvert that by bringing something new in that counteracts those lower scores in the data, I think that'll make it better. I think you got to be organized, you got to make it personal, and use data to try to bring your creativity to life and make it so that your coworkers who may not be as up on technology or creative ideas can see it the way that you see it.
That
Yeah, thank
that
you.
data piece. The data piece is really important. I've been telling a lot of people about how now we live in this world where data truly is king. Before, data has kind of always been king, but now with everything going on and how easy it is to get data for certain
Mm-hmm.
things, it's really important to leverage that information.
And not only that, with data, you can synthesize data a lot easier now. Like if you haven't For anybody who is a program manager, you use NPS scores to determine how successful something is. You can take the results of that from the back end of the Excel sheet or whatever. What's Google? Google Sheets,
Form.
Google
Google,
Forms or
yeah,
Sheets on the other side. You can take that file, put it in ChatGPT, and ask it to analyze for what went well, what didn't go well, and it will draw these things out. It may even be able to give you testimonials. I'm saying that to say data synthesis is way easier now, where you don't have to just spend hours and hours like it was before trying to just peel through to see what went well and what didn't.
This is very true. And another if y'all want to sponsor us, I use Qualtrics a lot.
Okay,
Qualtrics
Qualtrics.
has a fire like data analysis thing in the back end where they use AI and machine learning. So if anyone on here is like running surveys or again trying to track certain things like engagement or whatnot, definitely use Qualtrics because it's already built into the system and it's fire.
Qualtrics is very polished. I really, really enjoy that.
So if y'all want to sponsor us,
But it's also polished. This really great segment that you have called Tips with Taylor. We've been dropping gems and giving tips all day, but I want to specifically carve out the time for you to talk to your constituents about the things you have and you want them to do.
I mean, am I a government
they're your people. They're your people.
Okay.
Don't you represent them?
All right, my constituents. So the tip that I have for you all today is related to using some of this technology that we reference to your advantage. So, for example, nowadays, when you're going to a networking event, you're most often than not, you're not just walking in blindly. You've had to RSVP using some type of, a thing like Eventbrite or Posh.VIP or whatever it's called. But you can use that to your advantage and you can leverage that information to check to see who may be potentially going to the event. So, there, if you're like, okay, I see so and so, so and so, and so and so is going to this event, let me look them up on LinkedIn. Then you look them up on LinkedIn and you're like, okay, they have this thing that they do, they have this experience, and we may have this in common. Now I can take this information, use it, put it in the back of my mind, maybe write it down on a notes sheet or whatever may be the case. So now I'm going to the networking event or I'm going potentially to the coffee chat if I've asked them to have a coffee chat with some of this information in mind. So nowadays it is so much easier to prepare for a networking or event or a coffee chat. And I am excited to announce that I've also used this technology in some of my own personal experiences to basically build out a coffee chat guide, which you all can find in the description below. We're going to link it. So that when you do, again, go to these conversations, that you at least have a guide of what to ask. And this guide includes everything from how you reach out to someone for a coffee chat, whether that's in person or virtual. It includes questions that you can ask. Then it also includes follow-up messages and all of that jazz as well. So that's my tip for today.
Can you do me one favor and I want this specifically to stand out. Tell folks what the name of the guide is, where they can get it, and what they get out of it. One more time.
So the coffee chat is called the Tips with Taylor, not the coffee chat. The guide is called the Tips with Taylor Coffee Chat Guide. It really doesn't have a fancy name, but if anybody wants to think of a fancy name, hit me on the side. However, where you'll be able to find it. So you can find it in the description. I will link out to it where you all can access it, save it, download it, whatever the case may be. What you will get out of it. It's going to give you the basics of what a coffee chat is. It's going to give you coffee chat questions. It is going to also give you templates for messages that you can send to people if you are interested in a coffee chat or in networking with them. And all this information is in a comprehensive, I think it's 3 or 4 page guide that you can literally download on your phone and keep so that you can reference at any time.
That's dope. That's dope. As we both continue to build this podcast, we're going to have tons of tips for you that we want to just be able to provide for you, because this information that we are providing, we don't want to just live in the audio space. We want it to also live in the digital space for you to be able to carry it with you. So I'm happy that Taylor has launched that, because I think that's going to be pretty great. Because, as we mentioned, for folks who may have grown up in this very digital world, it's very scary, the concept of coffee chats. How do you broach conversations? But hopefully your guide will be a little easier, make it a little easier for folks to, rub elbows and have great
I
conversation.
hope so, y'all, because networking is so important. Whether you do it virtually, in person, honestly, I recommend both because that's how you build genuine connections. But yes, it can be scary, especially for all of us Gen Zers who I think has some way, somehow have some type of social anxiety. But that's why I built it and it's here to help. So definitely download it, share it with your friends, share it with your mama. I don't care who you share it with, but anyone who needs it, share it with.
All right, I think it's safe to concede that we did elaborate on how Gen Z did have a bit of an analog.
Yes, thank you. Finally. Now again, I can't speak for 2012 Gen Z, but definitely are the late 90s babies going into the early 2000s. I watched 106 in Park. So,
Whoa. Okay, we should have led the conversation with that. If you would have
mhm.
said that you watched 106, I probably wouldn't have made any more
Yeah.
comments about that because
MTV, Cribs, like what?
okay, all right. Did you okay, I was gonna go deep. We don't gotta do it. We're gonna say that for the next episode. But I think it's safe to elaborate on the fact that I think it's safe to say that we elaborated on how living in both analog and digital world helps you in the workplace and how there's some gaps that we could probably cover by being more in real life ready. But how do you feel?
I feel great. I truly just feel that people need to understand that while millennials and Gen Z are different, that we do have some shared lived experiences and we can relate on those things. And therefore, we need to help continue to support one another because, we've experienced some of the same things and we can, what I have not experienced, but you have experienced, you can help and advocate for me, and I can do vice versa. So we got to come together to make the difference in these workforces, y'all, and in the world too, because the world is just a little right now.
That's what this podcast is for. So I'm happy that we are able to do that. I'll do a better job of not talking about y'all so
Yeah, and
much.
stop saying that I can't write in cursive.
I
Thank you.
wasn't gonna bring it up anymore, but if you want to continue, then it's
Traverse, let's thank you everyone for listening to our episode today. This was Care to Elaborate, and we will see you next week.
bye.